lied, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Monday, December 30th, 2024. Welcome back to the program, folks. How you doing around the world? What's going on in your neighborhood? Around the world, what's... Hochand South Africa, Mzansi, Azania, hey, Otsihilijan, Botswana, Servus Österreich, Salve Italia, Buongiorno Italia, and Grüß Gott Bayern und Guten Tag Deutschland. Yes. Welcome, folks. Welcome back to the program. Wherever you find yourselves around the world, it's a pleasure to have you join me once again today. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania for your daily dose, your daily injection, your inoculation against fake news, hyperbole, and BS. That's right. We're here to share the real world. You know, it's crazy what people watch and will not watch. I just happened to get a link to that egg chaser guy who had a very small channel during the Rugby World Cup last year. He seems to be an incredibly wealthy guy with yachts at his disposal and flights and money to fly over the world, wealthy. And I guess that wealth and fame's attracted people. I watched his video, which had 193,000 views, and all he did was sit in his hotel room and talk about how crazy a rugby nation South Africa is. It wasn't that compelling. It just proves that celebrity reinforces celebrity. Yeah. So how do we get celebrity? I don't know how we do that. Anyway, excuse me. Just had to clear my throat there. Just dropped another video, my latest video. This is on Nobs Mkhize once again, about her being on a no-fly list and what has happened and what has not happened to her since her obnoxious conduct on a FlySAF Air flight from Durban to Cape Town. So that video is up. If you want to watch it when you get a chance, maybe one of the mods can put the link up there, but you guys know where to find these things. Welcome back to the program. We got a bit of news to talk about today. Not a lot of South African news, but plenty of global news, including the death of America's oldest ever living president, James Earl Carter Jr. Jimmy Carter has passed away at the age of 100. A man well respected for his post-presidency, but he had, until Joe Biden, the absolute worst presidency recorded in American history. And so Joe Biden has kindly surpassed him. Sadly, though, we'll talk about Jimmy Carter a little bit today and some of the things about him. Also field your questions and have a conversation about what's going on. Apologies for the late start, but I did need to do a little bit of more research for my video on Nobs Mkhize. Don't want to get things wrong. Occasionally get it wrong. I think the other day when I first mentioned it, I read that it was a flight from Durban to Joburg, and I was wrong in that, so I corrected that. Anyway, let's see what we got here. In the chat, Chris Sten is back, Dylan Combrick, Monry Sieberts, Allison Johnson, Val Cooper, George Steinberg, Liam Menard, Neville Purden, Chris Ehlers, Emil Therrett, Paulie is here. Hey, Paulie. No comment from Paulie as my beard continues to shrink. It lost another inch today. In fact, if I hold my head straight up, now you can see a lot of my neck. It was all hidden for the past 4 or 5 years, and it's going. Shrank again this morning. Yep. So wasn't happy with the way it looked, but now I see it on camera. It looks a lot better. When I first saw it, I wasn't happy with my trimming, but looks pretty good. So pretty happy with that. But anyway, Paulie, it's desperate to see the beard go, and he's silent suddenly. I don't understand why. All right. Who else we got here in the chat? Hendo is here. Welcome back, Hendo. Richard Kuhn. Charles Van Olsen, the voice of reason. Of course, you know, we all know Paulie's brains behind the operation. Krista says, good day, all. PE in the house. Hey, PE. Yeah, all right. Charles, I already said. Alan Kotze. And then we've got Garrett Gillichin from Somerset West. Shawnee Grows in from Minnesota. How's it going there, Shawnee? What's up today? No comment till it's all gone, says Paulie. Well, you're going to have a long wait. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, yeah, so... Although I'd say I probably lost about 10 years with a haircut and the beard trim. Look about 10 years younger. Okay, so welcome back on a Monday. We usually get big audiences, but right now we're kind of hovering at that half-size audience. Today we're a pint-size audience. I don't know what's going on, but I'm grateful for all of you who are here. But let's get to some of the conversation and discussion about what's happening here. Again, as I said, I just dropped my latest video, and this one, once again, is on Nobs. And for the people who say, why you keep covering this story? Because people like this need to be exposed. They need to be revealed. So, wow, that's already got 102 views in like 5 minutes. That's a good start. Wow, let's see how that went. Let me just double check the time. It's 15 minutes, 141 views in 15 minutes. That's not bad. Not great, but not bad. So we're doing pretty well with these things. Yesterday, I created a new segment called the Mampara Chronicles. What do you guys think of that? Do you like the Mampara Chronicles? In which I'll occasionally put up somebody who is my Mampara. PTSD with your beard length, says Dylan. Anyway, thoughts on that? Did anyone see the Mampara Chronicles, and do you like the title of it? I thought it was pretty cool. I could create a whole channel called the Mampara Chronicles. But I don't want to start over. Just keep that as a segment on this channel. So, anyway, the Mampara Chronicles. I used artificial intelligence to create a court jester, a fool, inside a castle. That way no one can accuse me of being anything other than anti-white, which I'm not. Anyway, I'm not anti-anybody except anti-fools. Oh, we're growing the audience slightly now. All right, so good to see. 50. We're at the half-century mark. We got 50 caps today. All right, it's unfortunate and distasteful. This is what the Civil Aviation Authority has to say about the conduct of this notorious woman on the flight who is in denial. And that's not a place in Egypt. She is in denial. She claims that she didn't know it was illegal to physically assault, verbally assault, and commit criminal injury on a flight. Really? Seriously. We just had a plane crash and in South Korea, and this is how you're behaving? Another plane was shot down over the Caspian. Unbelievable what's been happening. I'm glad I'm not flying today, that's for sure. So let's get to this news. The South African Civil Aviation Authority has received a full report on the unruly behavior of the passenger on Fly SAF Air flight from Durban to Cape Town. Videos of Nobuntu Nobs Mkhize went viral after she became aggressive with the flight attendant. Fly SAF Air has since said she will be barred from ever flying on the airline. Now, she claims she didn't even know these were crimes, but of course they're crimes. Civil Aviation Authority Director of Civil Aviation Papi Koza said in terms of Section 135 of the Civil Aviation Act, unruly behavior is a punishable offense of up to 6 months in prison. Wow. The incident aboard the aircraft was unfortunate and distasteful as it sought to undermine the safety of passengers and crew. Correct. It must be noted that cabin crew members are licensed as safety officers under the civil aviation regulations. Their primary duty, therefore, is to ensure that safety protocols are always maintained, as well as the comfort of passengers. Not, get me my drink, bitch! Get me my drink! Serve me, bitch! You're serving me, bitch! Serve me! My goodness. Woo! Potty mouth. Where's the soap? Wash that woman's mouth out. Soap. She needs to go sit somewhere, yeah. She needs to sit down in a corner without crashing, landing in denial. Bring on the Mamparas now. Yeah, you like it. Okay. Too many. They always announce it on the flight. Announce what, Christo? She needs to go sit. Okay, well, I'm missing something there. Anyway, let's moving on. Fly SAF Air has, in fact, claimed they placed her on a no-fly list. Now, given how they are the largest domestic carrier and go to the most destinations with the most frequency, and she works for the government at SABC, she was probably going to have a problem with her employment. She's going to have a hard time traveling. It's a long drive from Cape Town to Joburg, through the Karoo, up through the Free State. Maybe she can catch an Airlink flight. Garrett, I haven't seen any reports. The DA claimed they're going to lay a case on Sunday. The Patriot Alliance claimed they're going to lay a case. This is just piling on. I don't look. This is just for attention. This is attention seeking by political parties. The only political party who really should have had anything to say in this, based on the event, should have been the ANC, and they did. They moved with alacrity. The African National Congress jumped on this immediately. They said, hey, this is new. We can tolerate behavior like this, and we are going to see if this woman's actually an active member of our party. They've been silent since then, but they came out immediately with that. As soon as the news reports came out, as soon as it started circulating in social media, even before I think the press, even the ink dried on the paper or on the screen, they had already commented. And they should comment because their party was mentioned in this and she acted as if she was a member of their party. Therefore, it is incumbent on them to say something. And they did. The Patriotic Alliance and the Democratic Alliance are just looking for attention. What basis do they have to file a claim? They're not an aggrieved party here. The South African Civil Aviation Authority, the airport at Cape Town, the airline, the police all have a legitimate case, as well as every passenger on that flight has a legitimate case to lodge a criminal complaint against this woman. But these political parties have no basis for it. This is just piling on. Now, one other group that also has responsibility and authority to actually lodge complaints against this woman would be the captured South African Human Rights Commission. Now, I know ad nauseum, some of my viewers have heard this many times, but it bears repeating over and over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. The South African Human Rights Commission in December of 2022, less than a week after the so-called fake race incident at Hank's Old Irish Pub, which Christopher Logan faked, according to the judgment against him, that incident, within less than a week and within just a couple of days of this becoming a matter of public information, the South African Human Rights Commission, a captured organization, a anti-minority organization in South Africa, began an investigation into the alleged racism of Hank's Old Irish Pub. They've never issued an apology for their conduct and for, see, when they initiate investigation, that brings disrepute on an individual or an organization. The South African Human Rights Commission is intentionally using and misusing and abusing its position to start cases against people who are innocent to tarnish their reputation and damage them and to stoke racial hatred. There you go. I've said it out loud. There you go. So say it, folks. Say it with me. The captured South African Human Rights Commission. That's what they are. So less than a week, they were on that story. Espresso ran a story with this boob on the channel. Christopher Logan basically had nothing to say except to sit there while some pontificating leftist hate wanker went on about how it's a racist society. We're just all so evil and white people. Oh, but of course not him. Yeah. And then the South African media instantly called Hank's Old Irish Pub racist. They went on with a racist, only for the investigation by the police and independent organizations to determine there was no racial incident here. In fact, it was all a lie. And only for Ronaldo Gust to now, finally, 2 years later, have access to the video footage from the closed-circuit television cameras inside the club on the night that Danica lied and claimed that he was denied entrance to the club. Here he is in his full glory, wandering around the club as a black fellow, hanging out in there. It's there. And the altercation, the full video footage of all that, exposing Christopher Logan and Danica as bold-faced pathological liars. And not a single apology, not a single retraction, nothing from the captured South African Human Rights Commission, nothing from IOL, nothing from News 24, nothing from the Daily Maverick. Not a single one of these organizations has offered an apology, printed a retraction, or corrected the record. Why? Because they exist for the profit of race merchants. That's their purpose. That's their raison d'etre for existing. So why am I covering this story over and over again? To continue to expose this situation. This happens on a daily basis across South Africa. Racist, white and black, who don't come to the attention of the media or the situation is dismissed. I am not going to tolerate this. We will expose these frauds each and every opportunity. These pigmented entitled this one in word. My sister asked sister to use her to call someone. Got a phone back, added apps and photos entitled. Oh, okay. Your thing doesn't make any sense. Okay, so what Valerie's saying that some lady, some black lady in South Africa asked to use her phone to make a phone call. So she gave her phone, and then when she got the phone back, the woman had put apps on there so she could use her phone. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yep. And yeah. So anyway, yep. You're right. That's unbelievable. But that's one person. That's not black people. That's one person. That's anecdotal. DA wants to grab attention. It was on the news 6. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Meanwhile, we have no information on the federal federal legal counsel of the Democratic Alliance. They've buried the report. They've hidden what happened in the Ronaldo Gust case. They have not told us the truth about how they covered up the investigation and sacked Ronaldo Gust. We're still waiting for that. We will never see that unless a whistleblower breaks the story. Exactly, RJ. If a white person sneezed inappropriately, the South African Human Rights Commission will be on it. Meanwhile, it has now been over 2 weeks since the racially motivated attempted murder of the owner of the Hanscom Resort at Orkney in Northwest Province. Over 2 weeks. It occurred on December 16th. It's 2 weeks, excuse me. It's been 2 weeks now. 2 weeks. The media didn't cover it for a week. Now that they've covered it extensively, the South African Human Rights Commission is yet to file a case. What do you need? What do you need? Let me just paint a picture for everybody, okay? Here we are in Hermanus, all right? And we're down watching the whales. And a bunch of white people are making a rowdy noise outside a restaurant. So the owner happens to be black. The employees come out twice and tell the people in Hermanus, please calm down. It's quiet. You can't be making this kind of noise here. It's inappropriate. We don't allow this behavior here. Please stop or I will ask you to leave. And they tell them to foot sack. So after 2 times, the employees go get the manager. The manager comes down. The manager is black. Okay? All the guests are white. Let's pretend that 50 white guests get up and come over and start assaulting verbally the owner of the restaurant. Then they start pushing him, and then they pull out knives and pungas and start stabbing him in the back. Take that picture, and guess what will be on Twitter in 5 minutes? Guess what will be on IOL and News 24 within 2 hours? Guess what? Racist white South Africans attack innocent black restaurant owner. That's the story. It'll be racist. Everything will be racist. Now flip the story around. An individual white man, an owner of a resort in Northwest Province, walks out amongst a crowd of hundreds of black people. Because he's not a racist, he doesn't fear black people. He went to do his job, to tell people to please stop violating the rules. And they attempt to murder him, stabbing him multiple times in the back. What cowards stab a man in the back? What cowards gang up like frickin', I won't say it because they'll accuse me of being racist, but the appropriate analogy involves a type of primate. But we won't say that. Gang up around one person and attack and attempt to murder him. But not a single story about how it's a racially motivated attack or it's racist. It may not be. Although all evidence that's available seems to indicate it clearly is. But we'll allow that the attack, the attempted murder on Mark Hanscom was not racially motivated. Let's say that. But I guarantee you flip it around, and that's all they'll say. That's all they'll say. Yep. She put Facebook Messenger, some other apps, and photos of her people on Pfister's phone. No worries, I climbed into her today. Well, let me talk to her. I'll deal with her. Neville says, Nabutum Kizi claims she was as sober as a judge. Now every judge has to undergo breathalyzer. You keep saying Freistadt. It was in Orkney. Isn't that in Northwest Province? Maybe I'm wrong. Nothing has happened. Nothing. The man survived. He was in critical condition. He survived. 3 men have been charged with attempted murder, and they appeared in court, but nothing has happened. The DA fire me? I don't work for the DA. They are not bright enough to hire me. Only the best and brightest should be working for political parties, which means that I couldn't possibly work for the Democratic Alliance. I mean, I don't promote colonialism. I don't talk about the great points and aspects of colonialism. I don't sit around and pretend that I love the gays, when they really don't. Anyway, animals can only be taken out. Okay. DA is going to lose a lot of votes next. Oh, S. Moodley, welcome back to you. Oh my goodness, is this the Indian fellow from down in KZN? Is that the Moodley who's on the chat? If you are, let me know, because I miss you. Been a while. Anyway, yeah, it is in Northwest. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you. Orkney. I know my geography. At least I think I do. Anyway, yeah, so... Of course, as I was accused of never being wrong, so I'm never wrong, so I'm right. Hey, Michael Holmes is here. Chris is not a politician. He would last 30 seconds politics. Actually, Michael Holmes, I do appreciate the comment that I'm not a politician, but I think you're mistaken. I would do quite well in politics because I have worked in diplomatic circles, and trust me, they're as vicious or more vicious than politics. I think I would survive in politics. That's why I ran for office. But the problem is that being moral, I'd have to be silent on many things because stepping up and take a moral stance for things is not popular in politics. So I'd have to just be quiet about that. But thank you for that, Michael Holmes. Good to see you again. It's been a while. Michael often trends in the opposite direction with many things I say. And so I appreciate the comments that Michael shares. All right. So, the DA's lost a lot of votes, folks. A lot of votes. There's no case to answer for in Orkney because those youngsters were on private property. They weren't youngsters. They're adults in their 30s and 40s, all 3 of them who were attacked. Oh, you're talking about the other one. You're talking about the Free State incident a few years ago. Is that the one you're talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about the Orkney case. Yeah, there was one in Free State a couple of years ago. Yeah, we're talking about a very different one. Maybe American politics is not South African. Being a political system party is about towing the line. Oh, Michael, fair point. But, it's a lot of towing the line in America, too. You can stand out, but you've got to get in office before you stand out. You got to get in office before you stand out. So, we have the Rand Pauls, we have the Ted Cruzes, we have the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of our political parties. We have the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and people like that who stand out, but they've gotten elected. They've used the machinery to get elected. Once they're elected, then they can, they have the power of incumbency. So yes, I agree with you. You're right, Michael. It's a very insightful comment. You're way too honest for politics, says Leah. True story. You have to go duct tape my mouth sometimes, says Savage Daughter. Dylan's calling the DA the Dead Alliance. One of the youngsters were told to get. I don't know what happened on that. Yeah. That's an interesting case. That kind of disappeared. Yeah, that's an interesting case. All right, so there's another fire in Table Mountain, folks. It's been brought under control. Paulie's here. Maybe he can fill us in on that. The Table Mountain fire is largely contained as alleged arsonist is arrested. What is wrong with people? Why do you burn things intentionally? I mean, unless you have a pathological mental issue and you're an arsonist, I get that. I mean, that's a perverted mind, an arsonist. But why do people set fires intentionally to destroy things, especially natural beauty? It's just crazy. Crazy. What happened to your comment? It was there and it disappeared. Let me go back. Michael put up a comment and it disappeared just like that. I was trying to read it. Something about no party like the DA or something like that. But a fire on Cape Town once again, folks. City of Cape Town has confirmed that a suspect been arrested in connection with a fire in Table Mountain over the weekend. He's been apprehended for allegedly starting a fire which burnt along the front face of Table Mountain on Sunday. The fire had been contained as of Sunday night. The arrest followed a coordinated effort by South African National Park Service and Rangers and the city's law enforcement. In a Facebook post on Sunday, the mayoral committee member for safety and security, J.P. Smith, wrote that about 7:50 Sunday, the fire had been contained and choppers had been grounded, but will remain on standby from first light. Wow, that was a pretty big fire. Wow. Suspect been detained and charged with arson in connection with the fire currently underway. That was while it was going on. The Daily Maverick report in February, the Western Cape provincial government had budgeted $16 million for wildfire response this year, an increase of $14.5 million from the previous year. That's pretty significant. So, another wildfire, and this one contained. But it's not a wildfire, it's arson. The Freedom Front will be unable to rival DA. DA will survive. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that it wouldn't do well. Is the you don't agree with it a general statement for the audience or one directed at me, Michael? There are many things the DA stands for that I agree with. What I don't agree with the DA is their political cowardice and their political machinations. What they did in the Ronaldo Khus case, instead of standing up for free speech and standing up for right and wrong, even after their internal investigation determined that he should not be terminated, they got rid of him. Why? Because someone didn't like him in the DA. It's as simple as that. They're inconsistent and they're dishonest. The silence of John Steenhuisen in not backing his chief of staff, whom he hired, knowing full well who the guy was, given that they're friends, knowing his broadcasting career and what he's done, being provocative, he hired him to be his chief of staff. And then he's a coward with legs of jello, not standing up defending his chief of staff. Shameful conduct on his part. Yep, shameful conduct. The mountain is burning, so Reinhard Bird can't perform. Huh? Yes, the DA is getting ever more squishy. Yep. And that's exactly what I predicted, folks. I predicted they would go into a government of national unity, but I said into a coalition. I don't agree with the concept of government of national unity because it's not that. It's a grand coalition, which is what I called it. And grand coalition is one of the things I predicted. A better outcome would have been simply a DA-ANC coalition with no one else and everybody else in opposition. But they went for this grand coalition to pretend that they're still in charge. The ANC is still in charge. They control the entire security cluster, and that's what really matters. So 13 dead, including a family on their way to a wedding and a policeman in KwaZulu-Natal accidents. My goodness. Look at that. 8 members died after a taxi overturned and rolled down an embankment. Gee, many crickets. 13 people, including 8 family members traveling to a wedding in Nkandla, died in 2 separate crashes on Sunday and Monday. Police spokesman Colonel Robert Nshundia said a case of culpable homicide is being investigated after a head-on collision after 5 people died on the R34. One of the dead is a police constable's. It reported the constable and a civilian passenger were driving from Mondla to Vryheid when the collision occurred. The constable and passenger were declared dead at the scene. The driver and 2 passengers from the other vehicle were also certified dead, while 2 other passengers were taken to hospital with injuries. Wow. In the second crash, a minibus overturned and rolled down an embankment. 8 people died at the scene. Other passengers were taken to the hospital. Wow. The reason I highlight these crashes is to remind people we are in the holiday season. It is the festive season. It is the end of the year. And drunks will be on the road tonight, tomorrow night, and throughout the rest of the week and the weekend as they celebrate and violate the law, endangering your life, on the road. And so I caution all people in South Africa, in the U.S., around the world, to please be very careful as you go out for the festivities. I myself simply do not go out on New Year's Eve. It's too dangerous, too dangerous. All right. Roger Rabbit's here. At least they aren't burning each other's time. Well, listen, Roger, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets. Damn, the mountain's burning, okay? All right, what else? Support this young musician, Reinhard Bohr, okay? I think Steenhuisen is a Semmelbrook, okay? DA is a political party. You have to toe the line. The FedEx ruled on Ronaldo's case. We have policies and principles. No, the FedEx violated the conclusions of the investigation. The investigation concluded in Ronaldo's favor, and they overruled that. Why? Because they're political cowards. Michael, you are a member of the DA. I didn't realize that. Okay. There's no coalition. The effing canoe is sinking. Stay off the roads, Hendo says. Yep. Stay off the roads. Another big fire in Fishhook today. Main road closed between Munzenberg and Fishhook. Wow, that's a shame. Jacob forgot to fix the roads. Oh, you mean in Conla. Meerkat also in Afrikaans. Okay. Michael says when people vote, they will see the history of good work the DA has done in terms of corruption and management of DA governments, clean audits, and great infrastructure. No doubt, Michael, that's all true. But the political machinations of the DA and undermining governments for their own favor and allying with the ANC against legitimate political parties like the ACDP and the Freedom Front Plus in the Western Cape is not a legacy they should be proud of. Also, the situation in the Cape Flats is not something the city of Cape Town or the Western Cape government or the DA should be proud of. They have now been in charge for going on 15 years. And in 15 years, they have no excuses. There's so much that could have been done in those places that has yet to be done. I know. I've been there. I've been to Montenberg. I've been to Kailicha. I've been to Mitchell's Plains. I've been to all these places. Repeatedly. Now, it's not the government's fault entirely. It's also the fault of the people living there. You must behave, you must have culture change, you must adhere to norms and rules and laws, and you must not destroy your environment or dump your refuse. So you can't blame the city for that, but you certainly can blame the city for the lawlessness and the lack of police presence, the gangsterism that's allowed and tolerated there, and also the justice system. So, yep. Neville Purdon is correct. Michael, the FedEx ruling on Ronaldo was to satisfy the ANC. 100%. That's what it was all about. But I think it was short-sighted of the ANC. It was very short-sighted of the ANC to push the DA to get rid of Ronaldo Khuz. If I were the ANC, I would have told them, and they said publicly, they said, hey, it's just the guys, leave the guy alone. And I would have said that privately. I said, hey, just let him be, leave him in Parliament. What's he done? This is a long time ago. And then I would have used it as a cudgel politically. Look at this. The DA has racist in their midst. They have racist in their midst. Of course, it's not true, but that would have been more astute politically. But now the issue is a dead letter. Ronaldo's gone. They've destroyed his political career. And for what? Rolf von Royen is subscribed. Thank you, Rolf. Rolf, thank you very much. What about the latest DA corruption case? I don't know about that one, Garrett. Mike says, with the Federal Legal Counsel, there are procedures. You send in a complaint. Sometimes when investigation is done, the FedEx votes to proceed. Case investigation happens. Well, that's a correct process. And they did an investigation, and the results of the investigation recommend that Ronaldo not be suspended or removed from the party. Yep. Pip Jacobs is back. How you doing there, Pip? It's been a bit. RJ says, how's the weather? It is 52 degrees Fahrenheit, partly sunny here. Looks like a lovely day. I'm going to get some exercise later on, go out for a walk, maybe go to the bookstore and check out my magazines because it is a new year. Yeah, so I'm going to get out of the house. I wasn't out of the house yesterday, so stayed in. So I'm looking forward to getting some exercise in. My hip isn't bothering me at the moment. Hopefully that continues throughout the day. So that's pretty exciting. Although I didn't sleep for beans last night, man. I just kept waking up. I didn't go to bed till like 3 o'clock, 3:30, something like that. And I just kept waking up. Yep. Charles says there was clearly a Ronaldo hater in the DA midst. Of course there was. Ronaldo's pissed off a lot of people off. I mean, he his termination, it was unjust, unfair, but he has no one to blame but himself. He made a lot of enemies along the way. Now, whether he meant to make them or not isn't really the point. He danced around a lot of the stuff for a long time and intentionally tried not to make enemies in his party, which was clever. But nonetheless, his brash commentary and his popularity is something that some people in the DA had penis envy over and definitely didn't like. Yep. Pip Jackson, not too bad. My leave finally kicked in, so time for R&R. Well, that's awesome, Pip. That was clearly okay. Hey, Marilyn, how's it going? Say hi to Lindsay for me. Happy New Year. Right, Garrett, they could have kept Ronaldo as an ace up their sleeve for when they needed something big and made a big stink about it, but they didn't. I hope the solar's charging. Well, it's been a slow month, but better than December last year, which was just the second month, and the first full month that I had the panels was last year, December. So I've had them a little over a year now. Right now, 3.45 kilowatt hours, and it's almost noon. So that's not great, but it's not terrible. Last year in December, terrible month, only 293 kilowatt hours of power in December. So many clouds in December last year. We've had a lot of clouds in December this year, and had about 15 days been sucky. But despite that, we had some very good days beginning of December and a couple good days later. So I'm now sitting at 327 kilowatt hours, and I have the rest of today, another 4 hours of sunshine, probably, maybe 4.5, and then got tomorrow. So if the weather's good tomorrow, we can maybe get up to 340, 350. That'd be nice. Last year was 293. So already 293, 303, 313, 323. I'm already 34 kilowatt hours more than, and that's 34 kilowatt hours, about 2 days of electricity. So this year in December, I've banked 2 more days of electricity than I did last year. That's kind of cool. My consumption, that is. FedEx has unanimously voted on the matter. That means everyone in the FedEx voted for the ruling. That was in the press statement. And that's also a lie, Michael. That's a lie. That's a lie. People changed their vote in the FedEx. That's what actually happened. That's what actually happened. Press releases aren't always the truth, brother. Aren't always the truth. Anyway, yeah, Ronaldo was an easy target. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if it wasn't that video, it would have been another video. If they hadn't focused on that video, then they would have put all their time and effort into the one when Roman appeared on his channel and laughed about Freddie Mercury. That would have been the thing that did him in. So, yeah, no, it's just unfortunate, but that's the way things go. Neville says, I'm just one person that won't be voting D again. I don't think I'm the only one. Well, you're not the only one. John Jarvis here. Hoes would never have accepted the terms and conditions they wanted to pose in order from state. And John Jarvis, I believe, his analysis is 100% correct. They, well, he might have, but he would have taken a big risk. So one of the terms was he had to get rid of his channel. Now, I will disclose to you something and won't tell you what was or wasn't said, but I privately offered to take over Ronaldo's channel. That's cheeky of me, isn't it? Should he be forced to abandon it? I privately offered to take over management of his channel and run it. So not that maybe it would have died with me running his channel, but I offered that. I'm not going to say whether Ronaldo was willing to accept or reject that offer, but that would have at least given a caretaker role so that if he was betrayed by the DA later on, he could always come back and still have a channel. And hopefully, you know, it wouldn't shed viral particles and I'd lose him his subscribers. But that's something that I privately offered to Ronaldo to take over his channel. So, yeah, and I still would have done his programs and probably would have done 3 broadcasts a week, although it would have been odd for me to do Wednesdays with the Colonel. I'd have to sit here and talk to myself. Well, Colonel Wyatt, what do you have to say? Well, Chris, I think that. But, yeah, I did privately offer to do that. So, yeah, there, it's out. But, yeah, they one of the conditions was he had to get rid of his social media, particularly his YouTube channel. So... What else? All well. And by the way, folks, don't start beating up on Michael Holmes. Michael's just sharing facts and also a little bit of his perspective, and that's welcome. Do appreciate that. So, all being well, the panels won't be ripped off the roof in January storms. Field place panels here more vulnerable than yours. We're trashed here. Oh, sorry to hear that, Keith. Yeah, the ones on the roof are anchored much better than the ones in the field, and they are not subject to nearly as much abuse by wind. When you have panels on the ground, they catch the full brunt of the wind coming up direct on, from above, from behind, from the side, whereas the panels on the roof, much of that wind is abated by the structure of the house. Yep, so what did RJ say? Oh, less than 10 millimeters. That's not much rain. Right. So that taxi crash, bad news. Ethiopia, another traffic accident has killed dozens of people. This is horrific. I used to live in Ethiopia. Very dangerous roads there. Dozens of people were killed yesterday in Ethiopia in a traffic accident in the Sidama region, south of Addis Ababa. Regional and hospital officials told the Voice of America that 71 people have died in the accident. Wow. Good Lord. 71. Among the dead, 68 were men and 3 were women. My goodness. 4 people seriously injured, taken to hospital. A truck carrying passengers lost control while passing over a bridge and plunged into the river. Oh, that's why so many died. Oh, my goodness. 71 people dead. 71 people dead in a traffic accident. That's horrible. Oyama Diosiba. That's an interesting name. That looks like a West African name. Oyama Diosiba. Where are you from, man? Oyama, are you one of those District 9 Nigerians in South Africa? Anyway, we're all tied to our opinions. Michael has in no way been disrespectful. No, he hasn't. Michael has at times been disrespectful in the past, but nothing serious. But he's just sharing, so let's be polite. Very cold weather, snow predicted in the UK towards the end of the week. Well, that'll be interesting. That's a lot of people dead for one accident. That's like an air crash. That's so many people. No, Charles. Neville isn't saying that Michael was being rude. What he's echoing is what I said. Some people are challenging Michael and refuting some things, and it's a little tinged like an attack on him when so many people do it. That's why that's why we said it. What plane in Canada? I haven't seen that. Kenya is grappling with more protests, folks, despite efforts to organize politically. Protests by young Kenyans throughout 2024 sent shockwaves through the country's political scene, forcing the government to drop proposed taxes and fire several ministers. The youth movement highlighted the challenges Kenya faces as the government tries to increase revenue from citizens who are grappling with a high cost of living and angry about corruption. And when they try to raise taxes, people didn't like it, and that's what happened. New elections are a long ways off, says the Islamist government of Syria, having overthrown Bashir al-Assad. Holding new elections could take up to 4 years, rebel leader Ahmed al-Shara said in a broadcasted interview. And I agree with him. It's probably going to take a long time. Syria is a mess. In the interview with Saudi state broadcaster Al Arabiya, he said that drafting a new constitution could take up to 3 years. Also said it could be a year before Syrians began to see significant change and improvements in public services following the overthrow of the Assad regime. And on that count, I agree with the gentleman. He's 100% correct. It's not going to happen overnight. Meanwhile, the Taliban continues its brutal oppression of women, now saying it will close all non-government organizations that employ Afghan women. Unbelievable. They are just vile, repulsive human beings. The Taliban said they'll close all national and foreign non-governmental groups in Afghanistan that employ women. 2 years after they told NGOs to suspend the employment of Afghan women, allegedly because they didn't wear Islamic headscarf correctly. In a letter published on Twitter, the Economic Ministry warned that failure to comply with the latest order would lead to NGOs losing their license to operate in Afghanistan. Thank you, Joe Biden. This is the legacy of Joe Biden. The rape, murder, abuse, and subjugation of women in Afghanistan and girls. Joe Biden, are you proud of yourself? While people run around the political left and try to play up Joe Biden's legacy for democracy, the man is anything but a Democrat. He's an evil autocrat. South Korea has impeached another president. Han Duck-soo declined to make judicial appointments needed to advance the impeachment of his predecessor. So, South Korea's legislature voted to impeach the acting president, Han Duck-soo, on Friday. Oh, good Lord. It just keeps going. South Korea is a mess. It's a mess. Wow. So, who's next? Who is next? Lawmakers, 300 seat legislature cast 192 votes in favor of impeachment. Wow. So they got their majority. 192 votes to impeach. They need 2/3 though, so I don't know how. I guess people weren't there. North Korean soldiers reportedly flying into the meat chopper, the meat grinder, in human waves. Reportedly over 1,000 North Korean soldiers already dead in Ukraine. Wow. Unsettling reports emerged from North Korea regarding the military's involvement in Ukraine. Soldiers reportedly taking drastic measures, including suicide, to avoid being sent into human wave attacks. Wow. A recent week saw over 1,000 North Korean troops lose their lives in the Kursk region, accounting for 10% of their total deployment to support Russian forces. Wow. Now there's reports that they've been committing suicide to avoid capture by Ukraine. The National Security Council spokesman John Kirby elaborated on the dire situation, stating that both North Korean and Russian military leaders are treating these soldiers as expendable in combat operations. It's clear that Russian and North Korean military leaders are treating these troops as expendable and ordering hopeless assaults against Ukraine defenses. I hope they're loading up their commanders with a bunch of body bags because they're clearly going to need it. Wow. There have been many losses, a great deal. We can see that the Russian military and the North Korean enforcers have no interest in the survival of these Koreans at all. Everything is arranged in a way that makes it impossible for us to capture the Koreans as prisoners. Their own people are executing them. There are such cases, and the Russians send them into the assaults with minimal protection. Well, that's not good. Mayday, Mayday, the final 6 minutes before the horrific crash in South Korea. A bird strike warning came from an airport control tower just before one of the worst aviation disasters in years. About 6 minutes after the towers warning the plane crashed without its landing gear deployed and smashed into a barrier at the end of the airport's only runway, bursting into flames. Of the 181 passengers on board, just 2 survived. Both were flight attendants at the back of the 737-800. The Jeju Air flight's final chaotic moments now sit at the heart of a South Korean investigation of one of the deadliest aviation disasters in years. Wow. After the disaster on Sunday, tens of thousands of passengers canceled Jeju Air flights. The company's stock declined by 8.6%. Boeing shares down nearly 4% in pre-market trading on Monday. Wow. Horrific situation, folks. Horrific situation. Sobbing and prayers echo through South Korean airport as families mourn the air crash victims. The sounds of sobbing, prayers, and anguish echoed through the departure halls of an airport in southwestern South Korea on Monday as families of the victims killed when a passenger jet crash landed over the weekend waited for their loved ones to be identified. All but 2 people on the flight were killed. In the soaring atrium that normally serves the airport's departure hall, scores of families huddled together, murmuring hushed prayers. Some were seen wrapped in each other's embrace, weeping. Several monks spoke to gather groups. Rows of yellow tents stood erect for people who had stayed overnight. Wow. There's what's left of the aircraft. That's all that wasn't completely burnt up was the tail section. Well, it wasn't the pilot inexperienced. He had 6,800 hours in the air. An Italian man has been killed in a Red Sea shark attack. Oof, that's not good. 2 foreigners were attacked by a shark in the northern Marsa Alam area, which led to the injury of one and the death of another. Man, I don't go in the water. No thanks. Amid an anti-Western drift is how they call the right-of-center government in Georgia, which people have been protesting in Grozny. Tbilisi. Even though a figurehead, Mikhail Kavashvili, occupies symbolic role as country moves further from the west towards Russia and China, Georgia inaugurates a conservative president. A former soccer star and conservative critic of the West is sworn in on Sunday as new president of Georgia, a strategically important republic in the middle of the Caucasus, replacing a head of state who vowed to continue fighting to steer the country closer to the European Union. Mikhail Kavashvili, 53, was sworn in as president in the Hall of Parliament that had many empty seats as representatives from 4 opposition parties refused to enter it after an election in October that they denounced as rigged. How was the election rigged when the government ran it and lost? A 60-mile drag mark. Wow, folks. 100-kilometer long drag mark found near the damaged Baltic Sea cable. The electricity cable linked to Estonia was damaged on Christmas Day and suspected Russian act of sabotage. Finnish investigators say they found a seabed trail stretching almost 100 kilometers from the site of an underwater electricity cable that was damaged on Christmas Day. The ship under suspicion of causing the damage, the vessel called the Eagle S, flying the flag of the Cook Islands, is believed to be part of Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet, used for transporting Russian oil products subject to embargoes after the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Our current understanding is that the drag mark in question is that of the anchor of the Eagle S. We've been able to clarify this matter through underwater research. The apparent act of sabotage damaged this S-Link 2 electricity cable connecting Finland and Estonia. It'll take months to repair, which could lead to increased electricity prices in Estonia over the winter. It's the latest in serious suspicious incidents involving damaged underwater power and communications cables, including the critical Sea Lion 1 cable from Estonia to Rostock in Germany. Well, turning our attention to North America and Donald Trump. He's calling a court victory, hailing it against the Biden regime's crooked acts. Yep. President-elect Trump celebrated a win for America after a federal judge stopped the crooked Biden administration from selling border wall materials before Trump takes office. In a major crucial win for America and our national security, a federal judge in Texas, based on papers we filed just a few days ago, has prohibited the Biden regime from selling any materials designated for the border wall that has been wrecked by the Biden and his cronies, which I'm going to fix and rebuild in order to protect our country from violent migrant crime, fentanyl smuggling, sex trafficking, terror attacks, and other heinous nation-ending disasters. The judge also ordered an investigation into the illegal selling of the materials, which will expose just how corrupt and anti-American radical Democrats are. Spot on. Big victory for America, big victory for Donald Trump, and another defeat for demented Joe Biden. Well, in breaking news, it came out just before I went live with this broadcast. President-elect Donald Trump has endorsed Mike Johnson, the sitting Speaker of the House of Representatives, to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the next Congress. He aims to win over Republican dissidents who said they were open to alternatives, and that, of course, is the Freedom Caucus. President-elect Trump endorsed Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana for another term, working to tamp down rumblings from some Republicans that the party should seek an alternative leader over complaints about spending. Speaker Johnson is a good, hard-working, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. Wow, that's a huge change from McCarthy, the previous Speaker of the House who worked against Trump when he was in Congress. Suspected Chinese spy is the fiancé of a California politician. Why do Californians love to dip their wick in Chinese spies? Why are Democrats constantly, I don't know if it's Democrat, let's see. Why are why are politicians constantly dipping their wick between the legs of Chinese spies? What's that about? Another Chinese spy. A recently sentenced Chinese agent called the councilwoman a new political star in a draft report to Chinese officials. Arcadia City Council member Eileen Wang attends the Asian Hall of Fame in 2022 induction ceremony at the Biltmore in LA. A California councilwoman is the fiancée of a man accused of peddling political influence on behalf of the Chinese regime. The man, Mike's son, was allegedly worked as a recently sentenced Chinese agent to advance the Chinese regime's political interest in Los Angeles. Court documents suggested to have worked closely for years to align U.S. policy interests with Beijing on sensitive issues. With the Chinese agent, Chen Yung, telling Chinese officials that Sun and the councilwoman were part of a basic team dedicated for us. Wow. Helping Wang win the midterm election, Sun said in a draft report to Chinese officials was his proudest achievement as someone who persists in resisting any hostile forces that undermine the friendship of U.S.-China relations. Wow. So this American is a traitor. She, not the Chinese spy, she's the one that opened up and took the wick dipping. Wow. Chinese takeaway. Yep. Wow. Wang Chung. Everyone's going to Wang Chung tonight. When are we going to stop giving people access to our political system who are Chinese spies? California senators, New York governor, California congressman, California councilwoman. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Everywhere. Well, as I mentioned previously, former President James Earl Carter Jr. has passed away at the age of 100. His biggest wish was to survive to vote for Kamala Harris, which he did. Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, has died. He passed away Sunday in Plains, Georgia, his home, after spending almost 2 years in hospice, according to the New York Post. He was 100 years old, making him the longest living president in U.S. history. His death was confirmed by the Carter Center, which released a statement announcing the news. Weeks before his death, his grandson shared that the former president was experiencing the world as best he can. James Earl Carter Jr. was born in Plains, Georgia on October 1st, 1924. His political career began in 1962 when he successfully ran for the Georgia Senate, overcoming the challenges of promoting liberal civil rights viewed in a predominantly conservative state. Became the 39th president in 1976 election, sworn in on January 20th, 1977. Of course, his presidency included spikes in oil prices, record high inflation rates, record high prime lending rates, massive unemployment, the collapse of U.S. industrial sector, the Russian or Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the boycott of the Moscow Olympics, and the taking of the American embassy in Iran, among many other failures. He did have successes, including the Camp David Accords, which were pretty successful because Egypt and Israel have not gone back to war since 1974. Over 50 years of peace. Tributes pour into President Carter after his passing as a humble, devoted public servant, but as a failed president. Whenever I had a chance to spend time with Carter, it was clear that he didn't just profess the values, said former President Obama in a statement. He embodied them. In doing so, he taught all of us what it means to live a life of grace, dignity, justice, and service. In his Nobel acceptance speech, President Carter said, God gives us the capacity for choice. We can choose to alleviate suffering. We can choose to work together for peace. He made that choice once, again and again, over the course of his 100 years, and the world is better for it. And the tributes come in. Here's an older photograph of now 2 deceased presidents of the 5 that were there. George Herbert Walker Bush and Jimmy Carter both passed away. That was 2009. Biden also had comments. Here's an even older photograph of presidents with Reagan, Ford, Carter, and Nixon, all of whom have now passed away. He's the longest surviving president in U.S. history. Well, Joe Biden is still at it, folks. Just days before the demented lunatic leaves office, he's pledging another $2.5 billion in military assistance to his corrupt friends in Kiev. The Treasury Department released an additional $3.4 billion in budget aid as Biden administration rushes assistance to Kiev in its final weeks in office. Wow. The United States is sending nearly $2.5 billion in security assistance to Ukraine as the Biden regime continues its rush its military aid to Kiev in the weeks before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. It includes air defense, artillery, and other critical weapon systems. Wow. I've directed my administration to continue surging as much assistance to Ukraine as quickly as possible, including drawing down older U.S. equipment for Ukraine, rapidly delivering to the battlefield, and revitalizing the U.S. defense industrial base to modernize and replenish our stockpiles. My goodness. Wow. The Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. Joe Biden, killing more people every day. Not a man of peace. Well, as I said, Jimmy Carter's final wish was to be able to vote for Kamala Harris in November. Good God. He made this announcement when he's 99 years old. There's an image of Carter at the time. He wants to live long enough to vote for Kamala Harris, which proved even after all he's done, you're never too old to continue to destroy America, said populist pup. Yep. And he did. He got a chance to vote. NASA confirms that its Parker space probe, solar probe, has survived touching the sun in a record-breaking flyby. In August 2018, NASA's Parker solar probe, the PSP, began its long journey to study the sun's outer corona. After several gravity-assist maneuvers with Venus, the probes broke Helios 2's distance record and became the closest object to the sun on October 29th of 2018. Since then, the probe's highly elliptical orbit has allowed it to pass through the sun's corona several times. On December 24th, 2024, NASA confirmed that the probe made its closest approach to the sun, passing just 6 million kilometers above the surface. Wow. In addition to breaking its previous distance record, the PSP passed through the solar atmosphere at a velocity of 692,000 kilometers per second. That's about 0.064 the speed of light, making the Parker solar probe the fastest human-made object ever. Folks, 692,000 kilometers per second. Wow. Boy, that really embarrasses how fast my car goes. An aviation expert speaking on Sky News claimed that the execution of the crash landing was near perfect, had the plane not collided with the building, things. Yeah, John, it was. I mean, we saw, I wouldn't disagree with that. You can see that it was near perfect landing. The problem was that the velocity was too high. The runway was too short, the velocity was too high, and there was a concrete barrier at the end. That's the unfortunate part. That's it. They would have been better off trying a water landing, frankly. I think Biden and his brother Hunter's affiliates, Chinese government officials, be investigated. I think they should be investigated. Yep. They've already been investigated. They've proven links between China and Joe Biden already, but nothing's happened. John Jarvis, I don't disagree with that assessment. Is Arctic here? Get his thoughts. All right. Let me get back to the chat and see what people have said while I've been reading the news there. Pip Jacobs is gone. Sorry to see you go. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. Okay. Val Cooper. Trump usually does what he promises. Yep, that's true. That's true. That is true. And Meerkat, don't trust or like the Chinese. Find them rude and disrespectful. Same here. Canadian soldiers training in China were brought after I'm sure. Okay, I'm not sure what Tony's talking about there. Yeah, no, I dealt with a lot of Chinese in Africa, particularly in Ethiopia. They were very arrogant and condescending. And so we're looking for. They were like Knobs and Kesey. Yeah, they were like Knobs and Kesey. No respect for any other culture. No respect for any other norms. They just did what they wanted. Jimmy Carter passed away, happy in the knowledge that he was not the worst president. Yes, because there's been Joe Biden. Seduction seems to seduce many, but takes more intelligence than politicians possess to grasp. I'm not sure where you're going with that. According to Politico, they said he was conservative. Who? Jimmy Carter? Yeah, he was conservative in some respects. Absolutely. Absolutely. He was a Christian. He believed in faith. He believed in law and order. He believed in the Constitution. He was a patriot. He served in the Navy in World War II. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a true statement. However, he had some very liberal views, and he was a Democrat. So he's a centrist, slightly conservative. Yep. Yeah, Gerald, Biden is a real destroyer. You can be a conservative and be a Democrat. You can be a liberal and be a Republican. These are labels. I think that Jeremy Nell was one of the people that said these labels are nonsense. They don't really mean anything because nobody's anything. Everybody's everything. So that's my words for what something Jeremy Nell said a few years ago. And there's a lot of truth what Jeremy Nell said about that. Absolutely. Okay. Should they not be putting arrestor beds at the end of the runways? Yeah, Charles, I don't understand that. Usually you'd have something there to slow down, but I don't know why it's constructed that way. Again, I had a near aviation catastrophe flying in an Airbus where the landing gear would not retract, and we had to fly over the Atlantic for a couple hours, and we came back and landed at Lisbon, and it took all the pilots had to stop that damn plane. But we had landing gear down, and we had brakes, but we were still pretty heavy from fuel and from all the bags on there. So, because we were supposed to fly across the Atlantic and burn up all that fuel. Democrats of yesteryear would be considered conservative. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at. I have a frustration for using selfies as verification in banking apps. I'm with you too, James. So this beard, especially when it's longer, it doesn't work. I hate when these people force you to use selfies to do that. That's nonsense. My selfie was when I came into the bank and signed up. Then you forced me to have two-factor identification, and that should be sufficient. You don't need more to protect you. So yeah, when these stupid cameras take pictures of me, now with the beard getting shorter, it might be less of a problem. Also, on my driver's license now, my previous one I had no beard, but on this driver's license I have a beard. So I have a beard on that one there. So it may work. But yeah, I hate that stuff. It's stupid. They think they're so smart with this software, and they're not. They're really not. Oh, I got a couple more $1 bills here. So let me take those out of my wallet. And you might be going, what's that all about? Well, I don't spend $1 bills. I rarely get $2 bills, but if I get those, I don't spend those either. So these all go into the kitty and eventually go into the bank. And so I accumulate savings. So I used to use a lot of cash, but these days I mostly use credit cards for transactions. But whenever I buy something cash, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 US dollars, which will go in the bank. $10 of found money, as I call it. Also, I don't spend any coins. So here on the table, I've got, let me see, so that's $10. Okay. And I got a bunch of change right here. So quarters, pennies, nickels, dimes. That also, I don't spend any coins. I haven't spent coins for 30 years. Whenever I get coins, they go right into the piggy bank. And then I take them to the bank eventually. And that adds up, folks. That adds up. If you do transactions primarily in cash, it really adds up. It's a forced savings mechanism. Now, it's not the only one I have, but it's just, I think it's a clever one. Works very well. I can recommend it. Take your change. If you're in South Africa, I'd say, you have to pick like a 10 Rand note or something like that. Throw that one all the time into a savings. Yeah, Tom Smith says, ooh, think of the Rand you could have. Yeah, exactly. Well, I have tons of Rand. It's just, I don't have it here. It's stored. Yeah, in fact, I got Rand coin, but I don't live in South Africa, so I don't pile up the coins. In South Africa, I try to get rid of the coins. Corn dogs. I don't eat corn dogs. They're disgusting. They are disgusting. Well, it's a new year and new laws. Here's what lawmakers have in store for you in January this year. Well, let's see. No more right on red turns in D.C. What the hell? The year means new laws. Starting in 2025, California towns will be allowed to set up enforced entertainment zones that permit bars to sell alcohol to persons on sidewalks and public streets. Okay. It's designed to foster foot traffic. Areas still trying to survive and recover from the scamdemic. State also legalized Amsterdam-style cannabis cafes are allowed to sell food, drinks, and that are not prepackaged. 5 days in the year, New York motorists will get a crash course in congestion pricing. Yep. To reduce traffic in the heart of Manhattan, on January 5th, they will implement this idiotic plan. Drivers entering a swath of Midtown Lower Manhattan must pay $9 with an Easy Pass or $13.50 without one during peak hours. Pennsylvania is expanding a safe haven law that allows parents to surrender their newborns if they cannot care for them. Starting in January 2025, urgent care centers will be added to the roster of places where parents can leave infants without facing criminal penalties as long as the babies are 28 days younger or unharmed. Now, that's an interesting law. So if you have a teen pregnancy and she's hiding it and doesn't want people to find, she can abandon her baby legally without facing consequences, and that child can be adopted and raised with love and care. So that's actually, I'm not in favor of laws. I like small government, but that's one that actually makes sense. Currently, parents can only take their infants to hospitals, police, or emergency service stations. So now urgent care centers will also, and we have urgent care centers everywhere in Pennsylvania, tons of them. There's one right here down the road, just about 3 kilometers from me. There's another one 5 kilometers that direction. Yeah. Yep. Well, there you go. New year, new laws. This is another report, this one from the Epic Times. Yep. Minimum wage. California's minimum wage will increase from $16 to $16.50 per hour. In October, new laws increased the minimum wage for workers. In April, the state raised the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour. Beginning January 1st, California Fast Food Council will have the power to increase it further, but has not taken action. 28 cities and counties, including Berkeley, West Hollywood, San Francisco, San Jose, and Los Angeles, have higher minimum wages than the state. Employment requirements. Beginning in 2025, State Bill 1100 will bar employers from requiring a valid driver's license from job applicants unless driving is an essential job function that cannot be replaced by alternative transportation. So basically, this is a disaster. This will be a total disaster, and this will put businesses at liable risk for all kinds of criminal conduct. So what the state of California has done is banned employers from requiring applicants to prove who they are. So this will foster the identity theft of people's social security numbers and their identities, as fraudulent criminal alien invaders will go to employers and claim, hello, my name is Chris Wyatt, and I live here in Alameda County, and I'm applying for a job here using a stolen social security number. Yeah, this is the dumbest thing ever. California is run by a bunch of morons whose intent is to destroy the state. Barring employers from requiring photo ID to identify who the person is they hire. You could be anybody. Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. You can't prove otherwise. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Wow. It will be illegal to discriminate against individuals based on a combination of two or more traits protected under state law, including gender, ethnicity, marital status, faith, heritage, citizenship, disability, or health condition. So if a criminal alien invader comes to you and you know they're an illegal alien, you cannot discriminate against them. Because if you do, then they'll say, well, you did it because they're a woman and they're an illegal alien. That's two factors. You're punished. Unbelievable. I suggest to all businesses to abandon California. Let it sink into, in fact, you know what? Let's just lay charges along the San Andreas Fault and accelerate what's coming in 200,000 or 300,000 years. Let's just go ahead and mine the San Andreas Fault, blow it, and let California slide into the Pacific and let it survive on its own. Meanwhile, Arizona, Utah will suddenly become beachfront property and much more valuable. Wow. Paid leaves. Parking. It'll be illegal to park a vehicle within 20 feet of any crosswalk, 15 feet of any crosswalk with a curb extension. Auto burglary. A new law eliminates the need to prove a vehicle's doors were locked during burglary, closing the locked door loophole. That's good. Retail theft. Allow retail stores to get restraining orders against people sentenced for stealing, vandalizing, assaulting, and employing a store. Why do you need a law for that? Someone assaults someone, you should be able to get a restraining order instantly. Unbelievable. California is a whacked out state. It is. Wow. Under SB 1414, soliciting or buying sex from minors under 16 will be elevated from misdemeanor to a felony. Wow. So you could pay a 12-year-old to have intercourse and it wouldn't be statutory rape because she's a prostitute. It's a misdemeanor? What kind of state is California? Wow. The law also permits prosecutors to charge repeat offenders with a felony if the victims are 16 or older. California bill that took effect a year ago also mandated a sentence of 25 years to life for child traffickers convicted of at least 3 serious felonies. Wow. Deep fakes? Good Lord. This is unbelievable. Accessory dwelling unit requires local governments to remove certain zoning restrictions and make it easier for homeowners to convert single-family homes into duplexes and fourplexes. Oh, yeah, that's going to help. You're going to let people build homes in zoned areas that are 2 and 3 times the capacity of that home, thereby creating fire hazards and obstructions to emergency vehicles. Wow. The eviction. The bill extends the deadline for tenants to respond to an eviction notice from 5 to 10 days. So that's 10 days you get to live rent-free in someone else's property. Wow. Library books. Known as the Freedom to Read Act prevents public libraries from banning books based on race, nationality, religion, gender, identity, sexual orientation. Okay, so now we are going to have more sick and twisted books that are going to be put in front of children inside school libraries. This is unbelievable. Good Lord. You know, what do you say about this stuff? I mean, it's beyond the pale. I mean, there is some really stupid stuff going on in the world. California is sick. It's absolutely sick. Absolutely sick. I'm looking for something here that I found. Here it is. Oh, yeah, here we go. So this book, parents will not be able to petition school boards to prevent this book from appearing in their library. So this will be something for primary school students. They'll be allowed in schools in California in libraries. This is what you can expose your kids to. The schools will do this without your knowledge. In My Daddy's Belly, inspired by a real family, with tips for parents, helpful resources, and frequently asked questions by Logan Brown. The story of a transgender dad giving birth. Ah, isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet? Ah, the story of a transgender dad giving birth. Men don't bear children, you morons. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. In My Daddy's Belly. Sick. Anyway. A whole host of new laws to oppress Californians. Donald Trump has accused the Harris campaign, whoops, wrong one, the Harris campaign, of breaking the law by spending millions on celebrities. President-elect Donald Trump accused Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign of running afoul of law by shoveling millions towards Beyonce, Oprah, and Al Sharpton. They raised over $1 billion during a campaign bid and reportedly blew through the same amount of her losing effort against Trump. Her campaign came under criticism in the immediate aftermath of the election for its spending habits, and now Trump is putting a spotlight on it. Are the Democrats allowed to pay $11 million, $2 million, $500,000 to get the endorsements of Beyonce, Oprah, and Reverend Al? I don't think so. Beyonce didn't sing. Oprah didn't do much of anything. She called it expenses. And Al is just a third-rate con man. So what's going on here? Totally against the law, and I've heard there are many others. Wow. Filings from the Federal Election Commission show the campaign paid Miss Winfrey's Harper Productions $1 million, though she insisted she didn't take a dime personally from the campaign. And Mr. Sharpton's nonprofit National Action Network received $500,000 from the campaign before he interviewed Miss Harris. The Harris campaign also spent roughly $15 million on event production. Well, I think that the Federal Elections Commission may find Kamala Harris in a little bit of trouble here for a campaign finance violation. Boeing stock is tanking, as you can imagine, in the aftermath of this most recent crash. Wow. According to Barron's, it's tanking. It was down 1.68% in pre-market trading and then fell more than 5% again today once the market opened. Investors should ready themselves for some context heading into next week. That plane was manufactured in 2009 and Jeju started flying in 2017. Regular inspections have been going on. Jeju lost a lot of its stock value, dropping 8.65%. Yep. So that's bad news. Linda Lavin, Tony-winning Broadway actress and star of the sitcom Alice, has died at the age of 87. Can you believe that? 87 years old. Wow. She became a working-class icon as a paper hat-wearing waitress in the TV sitcom Alice. A success on Broadway, she tried her luck in Hollywood in the mid-'70s and was chosen to star in a new CBS sitcom based on Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, the Martin Scorsese-directed film that won Ellen Burstyn an Oscar for playing the title waitress. The title was shortened to Alice, and Miss Lavin became a role model for working moms as Alice Hyatt, a widowed mother with a 12-year-old son working in a roadside diner outside Phoenix. The show, with Miss Lavin singing the theme song There's a New Girl in Town, ran from 76 to 85. The show turned Kiss My Grits into a catchphrase and co-starred Polly Holiday as waitress Flo and Vic Tayback as the gruff owner and head chef of Mel's Diner. The series bounced around CBS schedule during its first 2 seasons, but became a hit leading into All in the Family on Sunday nights beginning in October 1977. It was among the top prime time 10 series in 4 of the next 5 seasons, and Variety listed as among the all-time best workplace comedies. She won a Tony for Best Actress in the play of Neil Simon's Broadway Bound in 1987, and she was working as recently as this month promoting a new Netflix series in which she appears, No Good Deed. Wow. She grew up in Portland, Maine, moved to New York City after graduating from college with William & Mary, and sang in nightclubs and ensembles of shows. Mid-'70s, she moved to Los Angeles and had a recurring role on Barney Miller. I remember that. And in '76 was chosen to star in the new sitcom Alice. Yep. I remember that. She's 87. My goodness. Crazy world. Crazy world. Wow. Linda Lavin, dead at 87. Well, a survey by Gallup says Americans have lost trust in the judicial system. Are you surprised? I'm not. Wow. Americans losing confidence in the judiciary, according to a new Gallup survey that revealed that public's trust in the courts is down to just 35%. That's a 24% drop since 2000. 24 points. This follows half a dozen criminal prosecutions against Donald Trump. Also comes after Supreme Court overturned national right to abortion. Well, that's because the Supreme Court followed the Constitution, unlike the Berger activist court, which violated the Constitution back in the 70s. Results are unclear if response were thinking of the high court's rulings or mulling litigation against Trump. Only a few other countries saw such a big decline, including Myanmar, which saw a 46-point drop after the military junta overthrew in February of 2021. Venezuela saw a 35% drop over the course of economic political chaos. And there you have it. So Americans don't trust the courts. Can you blame us? Can you blame us? No, you can't. There's good reason not to trust the courts. They're evil. Evil, evil, evil. Also paid YouTube podcasters. Oh, you're talking about the Kamala Harris campaign. Yeah, they did. Yep. Dylan says you blinked and time passed. Indeed. I couldn't believe she's 87. I mean, I didn't know she was that much older than me. Wow. Marriott has just hit this nail on the head. We are living in a time when intelligent people are being silenced so that stupid people won't be offended. Hence my cancellation on social media. Hence the shadow banning of me. We can't have intelligent people talking to everybody. Fleshin says, my son's partner has to fly to California for our work and used to love the place, but even she is saying it's going to. I lived in California twice in my lifetime, and it's a shithole. It is. And I've traveled there since I lived there. I've traveled back to California a few occasions, and each time it becomes progressively, no pun intended, progressively worse. San Francisco was a total crap hole when I was there in 2018. So I haven't gone back in 6 years to California. Courtney McBride, one of our viewers on here, lived in California. He can also attest to the decline in the state. It's sad. The Golden State was amazing as late as the early 1990s. And look what it's become. Look what it's become. Yep. Meerkat says, thanks for comments with your 3 consecutive broadcasts about the airplane drama. The viewer who took you on about the ANC bitch not being colored, clearly not able to listen with comprehension. Well, it was more than one viewer, Meerkat. That's why I made a point about it. There were several people who commented on my video and said she's not colored. I didn't say she was colored. I don't know where people get that from. Yep. Tom Smith, I would have already given New York City a wide berth. I'm with you, Tom. Since I moved here, I used to go 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year to New York City. I haven't gone to New York City since after COVID nonsense, and I don't think I'll be going again. It's a crap hole. They've ruined it. They've ruined it. They've ruined it. Knob, carry him, Kesey. Oh, my goodness. Chris. James Bowie's here. Welcome to you. Democrats. Okay, so I think I've caught up in the chat now. We've got the news done. So, yeah, pretty crazy. Let me take a look at what's going on with the videos here because I've published another video today. See how that's doing. Oh, that one's over 1,000 now in a little over an hour. That's not bad. It's not bad. Ooh, it's a meteoric rise at the moment. That's got 2,373 views in the first hour. Wow. It's funny how things take off. It's when you word it. I said, no fly list for knobs. I've gotten 6 subscribers from it already in just 1 hour and 23 minutes. That's awesome. Let me see how many comments are on it. It's got 38 comments. Let's take a look at some of the comments that people have to say, okay? So, absolutely disgusting, but par for the course. Where's the outcry? Exactly. The comrades, the SABC, first cloudy. What's this? Good. She can take a train. Not really. There are no trains. 150 into it. They state at the start of the flight that interfering with new criminals. So, yes, in fact, she did know that it was criminal. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, because they tell you that interfering with crew members is illegal. It's announced that Kirby Gordon says it on the. Yep, exactly. This is why they're so quiet. The media and politicians. South African Broadcast Corp is a public broadcaster. It's one of the largest South African state-owned enterprises. That's true, and I know that. And I've said that. Herman is a politician who tells lies, says somebody. ANC taught her to say this, and Cyril Ramaphosa's president who told her, no, okay. It's the same as advocate Nompilo Kaleka, president protectors, saying Cyril Ramaphosa and Palapala are not criminal. Yep. Whiskey Tango Fox says Joe Biden got to do with this. Nothing. I mentioned people of mental diminished capacity. That's what Joe Biden has to do with it. So Robert Fundenberg want to know what the hell has Joe Biden got to do with it? Nothing. I just gave an example of someone with diminished mental capacity. I mean, I was trying to explain how she couldn't possibly understand that it's illegal to interfere with the cabin crew and to disrupt flights. She said she didn't know. Well, as one of the viewers pointed out, that's announced when you get on the plane. So she did know. And she wasn't paying attention. That's on her. Also, the reason I mentioned Joe Biden is because I mentioned only what person older than the age of 6 or someone with diminished capacity. And rather than attacking people, I address someone who clearly has diminished mental capacity, who's a public figure. Joe Biden. That's what it has to do with it. Rajald, are you talking about the drunk on flight? Yeah, that's what we're talking about now. We just got back to that story. Yeah, imagine if she was white. Exactly, Ginger. That's exactly what I said. Wonder why the South African human rights are so quiet. Well, Louise, the reason they're quiet is because the role of the South African Human Rights Commission is not to ensure dignity and human rights in South Africa. It's to oppress minorities. It's pretty obvious from the cases they take on. No retraction in Hank's old Irish pub story. They're still suing Ronaldo Gos when he committed no offense. Why? Why? Well, because that's their mission. Now her father can drive around. Well, her father's passed away, so I'm not sure of that. I think they're being funny. Wouldn't you say she has drinking mental problems and be treated medically, not punished? No. She claims she wasn't drunk. She didn't drink. She had one drink in the lounge before she got on the flight, and they wouldn't serve her alcohol because she was obnoxious. So I don't know that she was drunk. People are trying to explain this away as her being drunk. Look, she is convicting herself by her own actions. I didn't know it was illegal. I'm not apologizing for anything. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm suing the airline who did nothing wrong. I'm suing the police who did nothing wrong. And then she says, I wasn't drunk. I was sober as a judge. Well, lady, if you were sober as a judge, then your argument that you were intoxicated goes away. And the people defending her because she was reportedly intoxicated are wrong. Yep. She was in the wrong. Shabine again. Somebody says, I'm not sure behavior can be classified as racist. It was dumb, ignorant behavior. Yeah, hang on a second. Please watch. Please. My original. All right, sorry, folks. So I asked the person, please watch my original video on the subject. God bless it. On the subject, where I state I did not find, hang on, typing is bad here. Did not find the comments, come on, YouTube, be nice. The comments to be racist. To be racist, but bigotry. I keep saying racist to point out hypocrisy. That's what it's all about. So, and Teresa's thank me. Who doesn't know behaving violently is unlawful? Exactly. That's by Chris. A report compiled by whom? I'm not going to answer that. So. All right. So, yeah, Chris said it's a BS report and somebody challenged it. We don't know if it's a BS report. Netso, Hendo. All right. She's got way too much airtime. No, Savage Daughter, she hasn't. Nobody complained that Ronaldo got too much airtime. No one complained that Ramon's gotten too much airtime except me. I am pointing out hypocrisy. She should get all the airtime that this story deserves. And so should the attempted murder of Mark Hanscom in Orkney. That racially motivated, and we don't know if it's racially motivated, I admitted that, but I'm going to keep calling it racially motivated while the South African Human Rights Commission ignores the clearly racial angle of that attempted murder of the lodge owner by a gang of thugs, all of whom are adults. Yep. And Rajal, that person is a disgrace. That is part of the issue here. This time of year, the fringe racism always comes out of the woodwork. Yeah, I think so. Yep. So she'll keep getting attention from me, provided there is something newsworthy to talk about. So if there's nothing newsworthy to talk about, then I'll stop reporting on it. But today, the story was more interesting, and I talked about it because now we're talking about what has and hasn't happened a few days afterwards. The ANC bitch must be on news 24 hours a day. Yep, Chris, she wanted to be infamous. Time to face the music. Yep. Hendo says South African Human Rights Commission, another arm of the ANC communist criminal cabal. Yeah, and you just name it something nice like the Human Rights Commission. It sounds good, but it's not. The Human Rights Commission, the United Nations Human Rights, is very quiet on the murder of South Africans, gender-based violence in South Africa. They don't have much to say about that. Not at all. They say nothing about rural murders, farm murders. They said nothing about the murder of Zimbabwean commercial farmers and the theft of their land. Nothing of any consequence. Human Rights Watch, silent. Amnesty International, silent. Yep. She traveled with her Uber now with long distance taxi. Also did a video on the bromance. Hey, Sue is here. Is that Matthew? Since you've been to South Africa, are there any states worse off than South Africa? Well, Matthew, that's not a question I can really answer. I mean, I've been all over South Africa and by and large had incredibly wonderful interactions and experiences. There have been a few dicey things in South Africa. There have been moments where people are disrespectful and rude or acted like fools. I've seen thefts. I've seen other things happen in South Africa. But by and large, my experience in South Africa has been wonderful. And I don't live there, so it's very different. I don't rely on banking there. I don't rely on employment there. I don't rely on car registration there or passport services or any of those things. None of those. My interaction with the government has been mostly good. One exception was the idiot who wrote the wrong date in my visa and made it illegible, so I couldn't read it properly, especially without reading glasses. And I falsely presumed that he put down the 90-day date into March, and he put down 9 days after I arrived. And that cost me 6,000 Rand and cost me 2 or 3 days of time in Botswana, which really pissed me off. So that's the only real bad interaction I ever had with the government of South Africa. Yeah, that's about it. So, I mean, I've had plenty of bad interactions in America. I had a state trooper in New York falsely pull me over and cite me for speeding when I wasn't speeding and then lied, claiming I was going nearly 20 miles over the speed limit when I wasn't even over the speed limit. And I had to drive 6 hours for a court case, and I won that court case because he was a fraud. And I proved it. So I've had that experience. I've been pulled over by a state trooper in Arizona for driving too slow on the interstate. Now, the speed limit was 75 and I was going 65. That's not too slow. 30 is the minimum speed limit, or 35 is the minimum speed limit. So I was well over it. I was pulled over because I was driving a Volvo and he was a racist. And let me explain. There's a number of people in America that seem to think that Volvos at one point in time were cars driven exclusively by black people. I had a sunshade in the back of my car. If you know anything about Arizona, you know that the sun is absolutely brutal. It's like the Karoo or the Namib, and it will warp and destroy your interior if you don't protect it. So I had a sunshade that pulls up in the back and covers the entire back window so that it wouldn't bleach out the carpet and heat up the leather seats in the back seat and damage them. So I'm driving in Arizona with that sunshade up. I didn't have side shades. I didn't have my windows tinted or anything like that. And I'm driving within the speed limit when I got pulled over by a trooper when other cars were passing me. And he came up and said, he had to drive me because I had to cite me. I said, cite me for what? I didn't commit a crime. Well, and this is when the truth came out. He said, we have to give written warnings to people regardless, even if they haven't done anything wrong when we pull them over, because we keep getting sued for, pulling people over for racial profiling. Yeah, so I've had a few bad experiences. I call it driving while in the military. So we have this concept of driving while black, and there's some merit to that. There are some racists out there who pull people over because they're black, but we also have cops. Many state troopers pull people over simply for driving from out of state and take advantage of it because they know you won't come back for the court case and you'll pay the fine, and they can raise money that way. So that happens. But they call it driving while black. I call it driving while in the military. I've been harassed repeatedly by people for not breaking law, for not speeding. I've been pulled over. I mean, it's truly annoying. And, this is when people get indignant. Oh, I got pulled over because I'm black, just because I'm black. Dude, I get pulled over all the time outside the state I live in just because I'm in the military. Happens all the time. Not anymore because I'm retired now, but I didn't live in the States much. And in the few tours I had in the States, that happened to me half a dozen times, easily. I didn't lose my mind. I didn't get angry about it, although the one in New York really pissed me off, and it cost me a whole day plus 8 hours of driving. Well, actually more than that. It was 6 hours up to 6 hours back, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's crazy, but that's life. Pierce person, I don't know who that is. California's better than South Africa. I wouldn't live there. Everything you do is criminalized. Why would I want to live there? Lesson, don't drive Uncle Hitler's favorite Volkswagen. Volkswagen's fantastic. Driving too slow. Yeah, Hendo. driving too slow, going 65 miles an hour in a 75 mile an hour zone. Cars passed me. I was in the correct lane. I wasn't the overtaking lane. And he pulls up behind me and pulls me over. Now, I did get pulled over in Montana for speeding, but Montana had no speed limit. So go figure. Montana revoked its speed limit around 1990. When was that? 96? It was 96. They got rid of their speed limits because the federal government took that regulation away so states could regulate their own speeds again. And Montana made a big deal about it. Hey, no speed limit. However, you must drive at a reasonable and prudent speed for the conditions. So if it's raining, you can't be driving 100 miles an hour. But it wasn't clear about what reasonable and prudent is or who determines that. It's up to the trooper. So not the driver, which is bizarre. And there was a restriction that after dark, if I recall, you can only go 80 or something like that after dark. Well, I was driving from Fort Lewis, Washington, to Ames, Iowa. And in one day, I went 1/3 of the distance across the United States from very early in the morning. I left from Fort Lewis to Sheridan, Wyoming. And while I was in Montana, I drove the whole day. And when I got to Montana, I was going really fast. But you can only go so fast because the western part of Montana is all mountains and curves and turns up and down. So you can only go so fast. It really opens up and goes straight after you come out of the mountains and head across the flatlands of Montana. So I came out of that, and as I was approaching a town, which is about 20 miles away, there were suddenly more on-ramps. I was going over 100 miles an hour. I mean, there's no speed line. The conditions were fine. I was driving my Volvo, just cruising down the road, listening to music. And I had a radar detector mounted in the windscreen because in case I decide to speed somewhere else. So, but there's no speed limit here. And so I took it down when the cop came up because I didn't want to be embarrassed having a radar thing. And then I got pulled over for speeding. Anyway, in a state that has no speed limit. So because I was driving over 100 miles an hour and people were coming onto the highway much slower speed, and they're not accustomed to people driving that fast, but I am because I grew up driving in Europe, in Germany. I used to drive 160 kilometers an hour on a regular basis all the damn time. Anyway, so because of that, I began to slow down. So I slowed down from 100 and I was going 70, 75 and being passed by cars as we approached, is it Billings, I think it is, somewhere like that. And the cop nearly wrecked his car. He comes flying up. I saw in the mirror. I look in the mirror. I'm like, whoa, where's he going? Saw this cop coming up the passing lane and he's like, drive fast. And then he hits the brakes and whips in behind me. And I'm like, what the hell? So I pull over and he comes up and he goes, listen, there's no speed limit, but you have to drive reasonable and prudent. And I got to tell you, 116 miles an hour is not reasonable and prudent. He didn't say 116. I think he said like 90 is not reasonable and prudent. I'm like, really? I was going 116 earlier. Anyway, I don't usually carry cash at all, although right now is an exception. I probably get a couple 20s in here, but I don't usually carry cash. But I had that previous day gone to the exchange at Fort Lewis and cashed a personal check, which you're allowed to do, for $300 for emergencies in case something happened. My car broke down, or I had to stay in a lodge and they wouldn't take credit cards, because that was still the case back then. A lot of places wouldn't take credit cards. So he pulled me over and he gave me a citation. Now in Montana, it used to be if you got pulled over and you got cited for speeding, because the Montana authorities ignored the federal law because it pissed them off. They didn't like the federal government imposing a speed limit on Montana. So from the 1970s, during the oil crisis, when the federal government passed federal law limiting the speed limit to 55, and thereby taking billions of dollars out of people's pockets for speeding needlessly, Montana simply ignored it. So every time you got pulled over for speeding in Montana, it was just a citation. It was like $5. So he gives me a citation for not driving reasonable and prudent. I'm like, okay, it's going to be $5. $75. And I said, okay, so do you take a credit card? And he goes, nope. Cash? I said, nope. I said, well, can I write a check? Nope. Oh, you'll take cash. Sorry. Can I write a check? Nope. Got to be cash. I said, well, what if I don't have it? Well, then you'll spend the night in jail. Spend the night in jail? I didn't commit a crime. I had $75, so I paid it. But imagine what poor people do. That would suck. Garrett says he was going 230 kilometers per hour, getting past like it was standing still on the Autobahn. I was going 240 kilometers per hour on the Autobahn in an Opel Rekord. Yep. In when was that? Must have been 1985. Yeah, 85. 1985 on the A8 Autobahn between Augsburg and Munich, or before, yeah, it was before that. It was between Stuttgart and Augsburg. Going 240 kilometers per hour in an Opel Rekord, headed down to Munich, and I got passed by motorcycles, several motorcycles. They went by so fast, I couldn't even see what the license plates were on them. It went zoom, like I was sitting still. I pulled over several kilometers down the road to take a break to stretch my legs and get something out of the cooler to eat. And those motorcycles were there. They were from France. I asked them how fast they were going. They were going like almost 300 kilometers per hour. Like, what the hell? Seriously? Wow. I'm thinking, man, if you hit a bug at that speed, you're going to be decapitated. Can you imagine that? Man, that's just crazy. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yep. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. We crossed the Kalahari from Windhoek to Joburg in a VW. Very eventful trip. I've never driven from Windhoek to Joburg. I've driven from Gaborone to Windhoek and back. And I've driven up to Francistown to Maun and down. And I've driven down toward Jwaneng and up around the Kalahari into Windhoek. Yeah, but I've never driven from Windhoek to South Africa. That would be an interesting drive. Going south, that is, towards the Orange River. Yeah, well, they made a point of saying when the law was removed, because it was all over the news, they said, this is not Montana bond. You must be a reasonable, prudent driver. I thought it was reasonable, prudent. I have lots of experience driving at over 100 miles an hour. The road conditions warranted. The road was virtually empty. It's Montana. There was nothing going on. It was daytime. I had control of my vehicle. It was well serviced. No problem. And I was in a hurry. So I wound up going to Sheridan, Wyoming. If you look on a map, you go from Fort Lewis to Sheridan, you'll see that it is 1/3 of the distance across the United States in one day. Wow. That's pretty crazy. No, you'd have a helmet on at that speed. Leaving South Africa was not my choice. Diabolical plot by Dad to be a man and us in Canada with his sister. Yeah, that's a tragic story for Tony. Yeah, I don't know the whole story. He hasn't shared it all, but I don't want to intrude on that. But one day, perhaps we'll know more about that story. But turns out Tony's dad liked to dip his wick in a lot of different places, it sounds like. Did to Perth to Sydney and back. I'll bet that is pretty crazy, Savage. So I'm looking at making potential plans for the World Cup in Australia, and it's going to have to involve flying because I don't think I'm going to be willing to drive from Perth to Sydney. I don't think I'm willing to do that. Maybe if I was 25, but not at 59, because I'm 59 again. And Tony says, yep, he was dipping his wick all over the place. Yep. So, yeah. Anyway, on the upside, it gives you lots of siblings or half siblings. Yeah. So, even though you haven't met most of them. Yeah, I think that's just too far. So, for me, it would be a flight from Perth to Sydney or to Melbourne. Yep. Fastest car Chris ever drove was a Honda 2.2-liter VTEC Prelude. Okay. Tony says true. Yep. Anyway, so there you have it, folks. All right, that's an hour and a half for today, Monday. I got to get some exercise in. Plus, I got to run to the bookstore. Also got to go to the Veterans Organization, touch base with that. All right. Tony's still trying to hunt down his siblings. He is. It's going to be a lifelong effort on his part, I believe. So let's take a look before we go anywhere. I want to take a look at what those videos on Knobs are doing. So the first video on Knobs, which isn't doing as well as Ronaldo's. Now I'm kind of envious of Ronaldo. His is doing much better. But that one has 17,600 views. Slow growth today. It hit 14,000 yesterday in the first 15 hours. So now it's getting a couple hundred views per hour. But now I'm up to 89 plus subscribers courtesy of that. Thank you for that. Those who watched, that was the first one I did. And then the second one is, God bless it. Sorry. The second one I did is, that one should be close to 3,000 views now. Let's see. Come on, YouTube. Give me there. Okay, it's at 2962, so it should go over 3,000. That one started well and went down, but got 5 subscribers courtesy of that one. Then the one I did where, come on, I'm an ANC bitch. That one's at 2,800. Got 5 subscribers from that, so thank you for that. That one did a typical sort of path where it started out well, it went down, it dipped overnight when South Africans went online, then it came back up, so it's still growing. The Mampara Chronicles, that one hasn't got that many views. Then the Herman Mashaba Strange Bromance, is that one hit 1,000 yet? Let me see. Yeah, that one's doing poorly. 1,000 views with 2 subscribers. Thank you for that. And then the No Fly List, that one, the one I just did when this broadcast began, that one is actually doing quite well right now. And it is currently at, come on, YouTube. Come on. Still waiting. 3,700 views in, come on, how much time is this? In an hour and 44 minutes, it's at 3,700. So it should go over 4,000 in 2 hours. That's a good one. 7 subscribers on that. Thank you. That's the one that says no fly list for knobs. Finally got a dislike on that. There's always a dislike, so you got one dislike. Okay, cool beans. Anyway, so thanks to everybody. That means on the channel we're now currently up to 20,275 viewers. Wow, that's pretty cool. Slow going here to get subscribers. We'll see how we do before we get to the end of the year, how many subscribers we can add on here. Be nice if we get a few more, but it depends on whether Knobs does something stupid tomorrow. Right? It really does. Okay, so let me save this image. Okay. All righty. So is the Ronaldo Meister currently online? I'll bet he is. It is Monday. Sorry, I can't clear this. Is he not on? Huh. What the heck is that? So I don't see Ronaldo. Is he not on today? Oh, he's not on today. Yeah, okay. I don't think I know why. So nothing to direct you to there. So let me see. Yeah, he doesn't have a live today. He's got other things going on. And all my vids remove the YouTube experiment option. What is that YouTube experiment? I don't know what that means, Tony. What is a sub target in order to get advertising? What do you mean by that, Meerkat? You can advertise once you monetize your channel, and I do. Let me take a look and see how much money I've made from advertising. I've had 2 videos that I've done really well. Made a lot of advertising. Yeah. Wow, my channel got 20,000 views yesterday. Wow, that's pretty good. Didn't know that. Yeah, that's pretty good yesterday. Let me see. Revenue. Okay. From advertising. Let me see. Where is the advertising at? See more. Okay. I wonder if this lets me look at this. Daily. Okay. So, I mean, it's not much. I got $9 from one video, 5 from another, 4, 3, 2, 150, 119, 110, 107, 73 cents. So it doesn't add up that much. So you can have, but you mean to get sponsors? Is that what you mean? Lifetime on this channel. I think I have one really big video performing. I'm trying to see, but now it's taking forever for it to come up. YouTube is slow. There we go. The most I've ever made off of advertising. So I will tell you that so we're approaching 4 years of this new channel. So April of 2021. So it's 22, 23, 24, 3 years. We're almost at 4 years on this channel. I have made from advertising on the channel. These are the ads I plan here. $1,069. So 20,000 Rand in 4 years. That's 5,000 Rand a year. That's not much. Oh, yeah, Meerkat, what you're talking about is sponsors. It depends on the channel and how it's growing. When my original channel was up and it was growing, and it went from 2 subscribers to 23,000 in 5 months, I had several offers to sponsor things. I had half a dozen different organizations contact me because I was the shiny penny and my channel was growing, getting lots of views, and had a lot of traction. So I don't think I've only had 1 or 2 people come to me and I turned down all of these. None of them were things that I wanted to endorse. I don't like getting in the business. I mean, I suppose it made a lot of money. I'd reconsider this. But by the way, for that $1,000, that's from 1,750,000 views. From 750,000 views, I made $1,000 in 4 years. It's nothing. But the people with 500,000 followers and thousands and millions of views on every video, they are making money like crazy. Yeah, they are. Absolutely. Hog mighty cancel in Scotland, severe weather. I don't even know what that is, Keith. Fantastic day in Arizona. Okay, good to hear that. Thought you need a certain amount of subs. Okay, yeah, it's not amount of subs. It's how sticky your channel is. So, for instance, if I only had 10,000 subs and it was in tech and everything I did was tech related, and I got, say, 50,000 views on every video, which is possible because a lot of people won't subscribe, but they'll watch your videos. That would attract advertisers because there is a market for that. But my channel is all over the place, covering all sorts of things. So it's not really attracting many advertisers, but that's fine. I'm going to upload my videos to Rumble now, not YouTube. Well, Rumble does nothing for me. Nobody follows me over there. Only a handful. Richard says, Tom, driven the Richterfeld, Namib Kalari, and the Magakati Pans, 87 Hilux. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's not a lot of money over 4 years. So if you break it down, 5,000 Rand per year. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. And revenue on this channel, it only shows through Saturday, so Sunday hasn't shown up on here yet. But yeah, so not the highest revenue producing month of the year, but the second highest of the month. But most of that went to Leah to help her. So that video, Knobs, has just gone over 4,000 views. Thanks to everybody for that for less than 2 hours. Do appreciate that. Meerkat says, stay ethical. Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with endorsing products, but it has to be a product you actually believe in. Don't just shill for something because you're going to get paid a lot of money. Yeah, and I was offered money, and I wasn't doing this for the money. And remember, for those who've been with me from the very beginning, remember how I debated and I initially refused for probably about 2 months after I was eligible to actually monetize my channel because I was uncomfortable. I didn't like the idea of monetizing my channel. Remember that? Yeah, so the reason I'm monetizing now is because I took advice from Byron Shepherd. When I was going through a trough of viewership and people not finding my channel, Byron made the blatantly obvious point, which I knew, but I had ignored because I was stuck to a standard. I used to have a standard that I wouldn't monetize any video that was less than 5 minutes because I thought people shouldn't be subjected to ads. But that was before YouTube changed its policy, and even if your channel's not monetized, they would put ads on it, and even if you didn't monetize your video, they would put ads on it against your will, and they would take all the money. And I'm like, that's bullshit. But Byron said, listen, you're not promoting your videos because they're not making money off of it. Well, they are making money off of it, but they're not making as much as they could. So if you give them consent, they can put lots of ads in there. So after going to PE and having a conversation with him, I decided to monetize all my videos. So now all my videos are monetized, but I'm not making much money. Yeah, YouTube has been censoring itself in extinction. Yep. Anyway, so yeah, guys, stay well and see you all for the year-end broadcast tomorrow. Yeah, it'll be New Year's. Tomorrow I'll do a New Year's, at least 2 of them, one for South Africa and one for America. So I'll be with you as midnight hour approaches for South Africa to celebrate New Year's with you, particularly for people who don't want to go out and those who are home alone. We'll celebrate New Year's, 7 hours difference. So that will be 5 p.m. for me. We'll be celebrating New Year's. And again, 7 hours later, when you all wake up, I'll be celebrating New Year's here at 7 a.m. So you're welcome to join me for that. So 2 New Year's celebrations tomorrow, probably 3 broadcasts because I'll also be doing my broadcast. So yeah, pretty cool. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Thanks to all the new subscribers. Do appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who commented. And for those who super chatted, which would be none of you today. Likes, only 91. What's up with that? Come on, hit the like button. There's got to be a few people out of 61 that are currently here that haven't hit the like button.
That was easy.
Yeah, it really was. Truly, truly was. All righty, folks. Cheers. Peace out, as Renault likes to say. Now, take care of yourselves. And I'll catch you all right here if something breaks. If not, I'll catch you tomorrow. Otherwise, it'll be as soon as something breaks. Cheers and take care.